Man, I hate the refs.
I do too.
Welcome back to Board Games with Bearcast.
No.
Welcome back to Bearcast Blitz, where we try to do a rundown of every team and who they played last week, their standings, and who they're playing next week in a matter of 15 minutes. I'm going to actually time it this time because I forgot last time. I'm glad that you're here, even though we've taken a bit of a break.
Zach's back.
Zach is back.
I'm back.
That's why we're posting, because Zach is back.
Yeah. Did some traveling, found myself personally, but I'm back. I'm ready to talk some football.
Here we go. Starting with the AFC North.
All right. Welcome back to the AFC North. We have, from last week, the Bengals were on a bye, so thankfully no change to our win-loss column. The Browns, they beat the Colts in what can be considered a pretty controversial win. They beat the Colts 39-38. Say what you want about that game, but I'll let Hayden take care of that one. The Ravens crushed the Lions 38-6. Not really much to say. The Lions played a very, very poor ball game, and Lamar stepped up. He really, proved a lot of those doubters wrong, and it pains me to talk well about him, but, he had a very good passing game. Props to them. Then the Steelers, they beat the Rams in, one-score game, 24-17. Again, not much to say there. Unfortunately for the Bengals, every other team in the AFC North did get a win. But the Bengals didn't get a loss, so.
Hey!
Yeah.
Gotta say
so
positive.
that leaves our standings with the Ravens still on top. Or no, not still on top. They took over the top spot from the Steelers. But the Ravens are now on top at 5-2. The Steelers are right below at 4-2. The Browns are right below, but tied, also at 4-2. And then the Bengals are at 3-3. So it is still a very close race for the division. This upcoming week, the Bengals travel to San Francisco to play against the 49ers. The Browns travel to Seattle to play the Seahawks. The Ravens travel to Arizona to play the Cardinals. And then the Steelers, these lucky ducks, get to stay at home to play the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh, that should be a good game.
It should.
Yeah.
AFC East.
All right, the AFC East, where the teams that are the least feast on the beast, because the Jets were on their bye week. They didn't lose the game. Yeah. The Patriots, they beat the Bills 29-25. Mac Jones is on point, 25 for 30, was really efficient, led a game-winning drive, scored a touchdown with 10 seconds to go. Big time for them. Slow start plagued Buffalo. They were down 10-0 in the first quarter. They played catch-up the entire game. Just not a good look. Josh Allen did pretty well. He was a big reason why they were still in this game, but ultimately they lost that game. The Dolphins, they played on Sunday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles in a big one. They lost 31-17. They couldn't get a run game active. They only had 45 rushing yards as a team. I think they only ran the ball like 12 or 13 times. It's a big bread and butter for the Dolphins, who averaged, going into the game, 181 yards rushing.
Oh, wow.
They didn't have an answer for A.J. Brown, which we'll talk about later on. He allowed 10 catches for over 130 yards and a touchdown to Mr. Brown himself. The standings, the Dolphins are still on top of the division at 5-2, thanks to a Bills loss, which the Bills are at 4-3. The Jets right below them at 3-3. The Patriots are at 2-5. Week 8 has in store for the Buccaneers and Bills playing on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. We'll see how that ends up. Sunday, the New England Patriots go back to Miami to take on the Dolphins at 1 o'clock on CBS. And then with an Empire State of Mind, the Jets and Giants will play each other at 1 o'clock on CBS.
Wow. New York game.
Got that right.
The Battle of New York. On to the AFC South. The Jaguars, they beat the Saints 31-24. The Texans were on a bye. The Colts lost to the Browns, and one of the most controversial calls that I have ever seen since I've began watching football. According to Jim Irsay tweet, the NFL has told Jim Irsay that those calls were bad calls, that the Colts should have won that game, but ruled as a correct call. The Colts still take the loss to the Browns and are now 3-4.
Actually, I know we're on a timer, but this is funny. I saw a screenshot from the PI call in the game, and it showed, I forget who the Browns receiver was, it showed him at the exact point he stepped out of bounds at the back of the end zone, and the ball was thrown so high it still was not in frame of the screenshot.
As they do this.
And it also bounced into the stands, by the way. So, like, the whole commentator who was like, they only call these if they're thrown into the stands. It bounced into the stands, my friend. The ball bounced into the stands, so it was in the stands. So that was also the other call that was told to Jim Irsay from the NFL that was also a bad call.
You can put this on the screen. This is the picture. There's so much room, and you cannot see the ball. So we'll put this on the screen.
I went from one of the happiest people as a Colts fan to like be able to beat the Browns, which is a really good NFL team, to being very sad. I had a bad Sunday. Anyways, I know we're on a time crunch, but I had to kind of get that off my chest.
Hey, man.
The Titans were on a bye. So that leaves the standings because of the 2 byes. The Jaguars are first with a record of 5-2. The Texans are second because they have a record of 3-3 because they were on the bye, which makes the Colts third because they took the loss to the Browns and are now 3-4, even though we beat the Texans. Whatever. Which leaves the Titans at 4 at 2-4. Next week, the Jaguars are at the Steelers. The Texans are at the Panthers. The Colts have another home game. They're against the Saints. And the Titans are also at home against the Falcons. AFC West.
The AFC West. All right, so we have the Chiefs, who, as of right now, are tied for the best record in the NFL. They beat the Chargers 31-17, a pretty solid win over their division rivals. And then, obviously, the Chargers lost to the Chiefs 31-17. The Broncos eked out a win over the Packers 19-17. And then the Raiders embarrassingly lost to the Bears 30-12. And the Bears, we'll talk about this later, but the Bears led by their undrafted quarterback out of some Division II school, Tyler Bagent. Again, we'll get into that later, but what a win for the Bears. What an embarrassing loss for the Raiders. That leaves our standings with the Chiefs at 6-1, the Raiders at 3-4, then the Chargers at 2-4, and the Broncos coming in last at 2-5. Looking forward to this upcoming week. We have the Chiefs, who are traveling to Mile High to play the Broncos. The Chargers are facing off against the Bears at home. The Broncos, obviously, again, at home against the Chiefs. And the Raiders are traveling to Detroit to play the Lions.
NFC North. So the Lions had a very unfortunate loss to the Ravens. They had a bad day, very bad day for the Lions. They lost 6-32. Could not get anything going. Jared Goff had an interception. They couldn't run the ball. I'm not sure what they're doing with Jahmyr Gibbs. He needs to get more play time. When they put him on the field, at the very end of the game.
Yeah, he had like that 40-run touchdown.
When it didn't matter, and he had a 40-yard running touchdown that was just mentioned. And I don't understand why they're not playing their first round rookie running back that is looking incredible. But I mean, I'm not a Lions GM, so I'm not the one making the decision.
That's you, Brett Holmes.
The Vikings, in an upset, beat the 49ers. So the 49ers now have two losses in a row. Yep. Brock Purdy is in concussion protocol, as we've just found out. They beat the 49ers 22-17. And what is also a great game for Jordan Addison. So speaking of rookies, Jordan Addison had a great game. I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns. But absolutely incredible game from the Vikings rookie, Jordan Addison.
Who was on my fantasy bench.
He started on mine, but didn't win.
The Packers, they lost to the Broncos, as we just mentioned, 17-19. Another game that the Packers should have won, the 49ers should have won. There was a lot of upsets. The Lions should have won. There was a lot of upsets in this division, the NFC North.
Were the Lions really favored over the Ravens?
Yeah, they were favored by like 2 or 3, but they were favored. But they shouldn't have lost by that much. And to continue the upset train, the Bears beat the Raiders 30-20 with their undrafted second or Division II backup quarterback Tyson Bagent. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I looked up where he went. Like Shepherdsville, West Virginia.
I believe he lost the game to the Colorado School of the Mines.
Colorado School of the Mines.
That's
And then he goes on to beat the Raiders.
The Raiders have lost some really
Well, I mean,
hilarious.
the Raiders also don't have a quarterback right now.
Yeah,
I mean, to give the Raiders some credit, they don't have a great quarterback. They have Aiden O'Connell, who they're playing a little bit, and they have the other guy, Brian Hoyer, who they're also playing a little bit. Jimmy Garoppolo is hurt. He was hurt during the last game. He should be back for this game, this next game.
That's the Raiders for you.
But to give the Raiders a little bit of credit, they still lost by a lot, 30-20. It's not like the Raiders' defense is good by any stance. No. They don't really have a quarterback right now. Nope. On to the standings. The Lions are first at 5-2. The Vikings are second at 3-4. The Packers dropped because of their bye that they had 2 weeks ago to 2-4. The Bears are still last at 2-5, but now have 2 wins. So hey, they have 2 wins in the book. And next week, the Lions are at home against the Raiders looking for a bounce back game. Thank you. The Vikings are at the Packers. So they have a little divisional game to see who deserves that 2 spot, because the Lions are going to get that 1 spot. As I said, the Packers are at home against the Vikings. And the Bears are against the Chargers. So we'll see if the Bears win streak can continue. On to the NFC East.
All right, for the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, they were on bye week this week, so they were just chilling as they watched the Giants beat the Commanders 14-7. Hey, congratulations, New York. The Giants won a football game. Penalties, there were 10 of them for the Commanders, and the inability to protect Sam Howell. 6 sacks this week that the Commanders gave up. 40 sacks already for Sam Howell. He's on pace to get sacked the most of any quarterback of all time, so just not going well for Washington to start off 2-0.
What is it, like 96 or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's some
crazy,
almost 3-digit number, which is never a good thing. The Giants established a ground game and set up play action for Tyrod Taylor. He was 18 for 29, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's the first African-American quarterback to win a game for the New York Giants.
Hell yeah!
There you go. Gotta love diversity.
There
on
you
the
go.
Show. All right. They beat the Dolphins 31-17. The Eagles dominated time of possession, 36 minutes and 43 seconds. They forced the Dolphins to be one-dimensional. The Dolphins threw the ball 32 times and only ran the ball 12 times. The defense did a good job for the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously on offense, they're a tough thing to stop. They're a juggernaut on there. Standings: the Eagles are 6-1, the Cowboys are 4-2, the Commanders are 3-4, and the Giants are 2-5. Coming up on Week 8, the Los Angeles Rams travel to Jerry's World to take on the Dallas Cowboys at 1 o'clock on Fox. Also you got the Jets and Giants, that Empire State of Mind game at 1 o'clock on CBS, and then the Philadelphia Eagles come in to Landover, Maryland, to take on the Washington Commanders in their Week 4 rematch. They're going to play in Week 8 over there. 1 o'clock on Fox. So that's the NFC East for you.
Wait, so Jets, Giants, who's away?
I believe the Giants are the home team. The Jets get basically an extra home game when it comes to that standpoint.
So they're both at home.
They're both at home, but I'd rather be the away team in that scenario. But that goes without saying.
Interesting.
All right, cool.
All right, on to the NFC South.
All right, so we are running out of time. I see that. So we're going to speed it up. Last week, we had the Falcons, who, again, eked out a win against the Buccaneers, 16-13. Younghoe Koo had himself a game. He scored the majority of their points. The Buccaneers, again, lost to the Falcons, 16-13. They tried. Their defense really tried, but the offense just was not producing. Saints lost to the Jaguars, 31-24. And then the Panthers were on their bye, so good for them. They were not able to get another loss on their bye. That leaves the Falcons still at the top of the division at 4-3, the Buccaneers at 3-3, then the Saints at 3-4, and the Panthers all the way down there at 0-6. Still the only winless team in the NFL.
Dang.
Looking forward to this week, we got the Falcons, who are traveling to Nashville to play the Titans. We have the Buccaneers, who are traveling to Buffalo to play the Bills. We have the Saints, who are traveling to Indiana to play the Colts, and then we have the Panthers, who are hosting the Texans. Another division where they only have one team who's getting a home game, which is very interesting. But yeah, that's it for the NFC South. All right, you got 13 seconds.
If you're listening,
NFC West.
yes. If you're listening to me, it's too late. We're not going to get there. But I will say this: with the NFC West, the Rams lost 24-17 to the Steelers. They stalled in the second half, empty drives, 3 and outs. They had a lead and everything. I'll take the punishment. You got, the Rams. They had one costly turnover that shifted the tide of this game. T.J. Watt picked it off. T.J. Watt's an all-world player, so goes without saying. The Seahawks, they beat the Cardinals 20-10. Rookie pass catchers filled DK Metcalf's void. He had JSN score a touchdown, and Jake Bobo also got his first career receiving touchdown. Kenneth Walker's efficiency, 26 carries, 105 yards. He was a strong component on the ground game. The Cardinals are a feisty team. They just can't get over that hump and try to get themselves a victory. Josh Dobbs got sacked 4 times. Just, not good enough in this divisional game. The Niners, as we mentioned before, they got upset on Monday Night Football to the Vikings 22-17. They fell behind early and they couldn't run the ball. They were down 16-7.5. They only had 65 rushing yards as a team for the entire game, which is unlike the 49ers. Brock Purdy couldn't step up when his number was called. He had 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. Big-time interceptions and big-time mistakes in that regard, and he's in concussion protocol right now, so we'll see what goes on with that. The standings, the Niners are 5-2, the Seahawks are 4-2, tight gap there. The Rams are 3-4, and the Cardinals are 1-6. And for Week 8, Sunday, the Rams and Cowboys take on each other at 1 o'clock on Fox. Moving to the 4 o'clock slate, the Cleveland Browns come to Seattle, the battle of 4-2 teams at 4:05 on Fox. The Baltimore Ravens go out to the desert and take on the Arizona Cardinals at 4:25 on CBS. And then you have the rematch of 2 Super Bowls in the 80s. The Bengals and the Niners take on each other at 4:25 on CBS. Gonna be a good one. There you go.
All right. On to Fantasy Watch. Here, there's a lot of surprises in this. Fantasy Pros, PPR, scoring. There's a lot of surprises in here. Starting off with the number 1 being a tight end, Travis Kelce, with 35.9 points. Travis Kelce had himself a game. Taylor Swift was there. They threw a stat up that was Travis Kelce with Taylor Swift versus Travis Kelce without Taylor Swift.
Yeah, like how many yards per game he's averaging.
Unbelievable.
And it's like double when she's in attendance.
So he had himself a game, which is very unfortunate because I was against him in fantasy.
That's very rough.
But speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes is number 2 with 34.9 fantasy points. Chiefs had themselves a game.
What a duo right there.
Yeah.
We obviously know it, so not much needs to be said.
No, they're a duo. They're just all over the place. Number 3, not expected to be up here because he was against the Lions defense, Lamar Jackson. 33.9 PPR fantasy points.
I mean, that's Action Jackson right there.
Yeah.
He's going after it.
MVP for him.
That was the first game that he threw for over 255 yards in over a year. Threw for 357, I believe.
There's an article on ESPN about how he might be back in MVP form, and we saw it against a great defense, which is the Lions defense. Number 4, a little bit of surprising. Our first running back is Donta Foreman from the Bears with 33 PPR points.
Wow. I mean Tyson.
I haven't heard that name.
Yeah. I mean
Bajan only had
college.
He only had 1 passing touchdown. Yeah. So he scored a lot of their points.
You got that right. A lot of 1-yard runs and everything. But I haven't heard Donta Foreman's name since college.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I haven't heard Donta Foreman's name in a long time. Yeah. Speaking of Jordan Addison, we mentioned him earlier. He is the 5th top fantasy player for Week 7 with 31.3 fantasy points.
I'll say this. I specifically drafted Jordan Addison over JSN from the standpoint of Jordan Addison is only getting targets taken away from Justin Jefferson. And yet JSN getting targets taken away from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Jay Jettis is down.
Yeah.
Jordan Addison's up.
He's there. He's the guy. And I mean, there's people who are even talking about that once Justin Jefferson comes back, there's going to be a lot more evenly of a spread with workload because of what Jordan Addison's been able to do and accomplish.
Yeah. I saw a stat this morning. Puka Nacua, the star rookie for the Rams, his target share has actually gone up since Cooper Kupp has been back from injury.
Pretty wild. Wow. Pretty wild to think.
It was like 27 before, and now it's like 33.
I mean, those, Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson involved, I mean, they put the fear of God in all TV. So, I mean, obviously, it's crazy to think that target shares go up, but when they're on the field, all eyes are on them, and oh, we have a great rookie receiver over here.
Yeah.
They don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I hate to be that guy, but is this rookie class one of the best rookie classes of all time?
So far, it's shaping up to be pretty nice.
Like,
been really nice.
it's only been 1 year, but there's in almost every team in the NFL, there's a rookie that is stand out.
Let alone 7 weeks. To
Yeah.
say the least.
yeah,
I
not
mean,
even
Still.
a year. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I agree.
It's
been
crazy.
They've been balling.
I
this
feel
year.
like every team got at least one stud from
Yeah.
from the rookie class.
Couldn't agree more.
Which is wild.
Crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Number 6, A.J. Brown with the Eagles, 29.7 PPR points.
He's been balling.
What else is there to
He's
say
been
other than
balling.
it's
He's
A.J.
good- he's a
Brown?
football player.
I'll
He's
drop
a great player.
I'll drop this fact right here, actually. He extends his streak to 5 straight games of 125-plus yards or more. He's tied with Paul Studstill and from 1966 and Calvin Johnson in 2012.
Calvin
There's the name I
Johnson.
recognize.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
Everybody
Both
knows
wide
Calvin
receivers.
Johnson.
Yeah.
You got that right, Megatron. But
Oof.
yeah, he's on great pace with some great receivers right there.
Right up there with A.J. Brown. Alvin Kamara from the Saints, 29.3 PPR points instead of 29.7.
I haven't seen him on a top 10 list.
I have not
in a
seen
while.
him. Well, I
It's been a
mean,
minute.
he was out because of he was serving his suspension for a
Yep.
few games, and he's back and he's good.
I'll tell you this: December 25th, 2020.
Oh, I knew exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that screwed me. Yeah.
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 Not a very good Christmas.
Everyone who faced him in fantasy that day will remember that day.
And definitely
Yeah.
will.
Number 8, Gardner Minshew.
Let's give it up.
Let's give it up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hard fought.
it's your stat to tell because you found it.
There you go. It's crazy. He became the first Colts quarterback with multiple passing touchdowns and multiple rushing touchdowns in a game. Not Andrew Luck, not Peyton Manning, although he's the sheriff, he's not going to be able to run. It was Gardner Minshew.
Wow.
Pretty crazy.
28.1 PPR points. Colts should have won that game. I'm going to say it over and over again. I'm going to sound like a broken record.
I agree.
Colts looked fly out there, by the way, with their alternate unis,
I rock
the
with
night and Indy unis.
I rock with them.
I
do.
mean,
fan of the
if
texture.
but
But you can't really,
I'll
you can't
take
really
the
see it. You
texture.
can't really see it on the TV.
But those helmets are good.
The helmets-
I
helmets
love
are-
yes,
black
that's
helmets.
what sets it apart.
Black helmets are
Helmets are
great.
That's what sets it apart.
I have one of those jerseys. I have an Alec Pierce Night and Indy jersey.
cool.
Okay.
So that's what I wear every game. Only
Sick.
problem is that since I bought the jersey, they've had 2 consecutive losses. But it's okay. I'm still wearing it. It has nothing to do. I'm not superstitious, so I'm still gonna wear that jersey.
You're a better man than me, I'll tell you that.
Number 9, Jahmyr Gibbs from the Lions, 27.6 PPR points. They put him in at the end of the game.
Give him the ball.
Yeah.
He
Give him
still
the
got
ball.
27.6 PPR points.
Yeah. And they only put up 6 points?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the scoreboard?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Him.
what?
It was
yeah.
him. It was him. That, like, come on.
Like, what are we not seeing that the Lions, like, GM and
Yeah.
the Lions coaching staff are seeing with Jahmyr Gibbs that they're not putting him on the field?
And another thing about this is obviously David Montgomery's had a really good year
Yeah.
overall, but obviously he's hurt. Once he gets back, they could use Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game.
Well, for sure.
Marvin Jones has left the team. He can fill the void as a slot receiver
Oh, he should
and get some
100% be their
runs and
slot
everything.
He should.
And he could be the
Run all the jet
jack.
sweeps,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah.
He'd be the jack of all fantasy trades at that point if the Lions do that, and it would make them a better team.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it blows my mind that they haven't used him as much as they have. And I have a friend who's a big Lions fan. He's very upset about the fact that they
Understandably.
did not draft Bijan Robinson over Jahmyr Gibbs, and they traded down, and they could have drafted Bijan Robinson. And B, the fact that they're not using Jahmyr Gibbs, the 12th round pick.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'd be upset too.
Definitely.
And number 10, rounding out the list, you knew he was going to be on here. He's on about every week's top 10 list. Surprised that he's number 10. Tyreek Hill, 25.8 PPR points.
I believe
He's
the
got
king
to
of
be there.
fantasy right now. I believe he has the most points.
He does.
That boy fast.
This
That
is
boy
an off
fast.
week for him, and he's still in the top 10.
Yep.
So.
Yep, he is
Yep,
the
number
top
1.
of all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Notable people that are not on this list: Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He had 2 touchdowns, too, which was...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
None of the other ones. Patrick Mahomes not on the list.
Josh Allen on the list.
Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts.
Patrick Mahomes is too.
Yeah. He's number 2.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He is the only quarterback, not counting Gardner Minshew, the only regularly seen quarterback, which is pretty interesting. No Hurts, no Herbert.
Yeah.
But
Oh, right. Was Lamar? Oh, no, Lamar was on.
Lamar's
Lamar,
on. Lamar's
yeah.
on there.
Never. But you
So notable people not on the list. Very big and glaring.
Yeah, some
CMC
big
had a
names.
bad game. Very bad game.
Which is so weird because he still had a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just compared to the production.
So I get maybe this was
yeah.
just a good
just-
fantasy week.
Yeah.
Maybe so. Yeah.
I'm
Where
looking for him.
was-
I swear I'm looking for him.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not
not
Christian
sure
Kirk.
Yeah.
There he is, 18.
18.
All right, not bad.
It's
Top
not bad. Top 20, but still not top 10.
20. Yeah.
But speaking of players that are not in the top 10, but still had a pretty good game. Josh Downs is 13. Speaking of rookies,
He stepped up. He's definitely stepped up. For that
He's-
Colts receiver unit,
when-
for sure.
I saw a statistic that when Gardner is under center, Josh Downs gets more targets than Michael Pittman.
I mean,
Interesting.
it's
Which I mean, is an interesting stat. But I
It
mean, I'm
is.
here for it. It's a good
definitely
stat.
is, yeah.
Yeah, nothing against Pittman.
Yeah,
but,
nothing against Pittman.
if Downs has something that Pittman can provide.
Yeah.
It's a new guy trusting a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
That's those bonds of new
That's-
guys
yeah.
coming into an organization. I mean, they stick together.
They
and
really
it's
do.
shown.
You guys remember that story from before the season even started of Richardson and Downs staying after practice to throw the ball to each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember them trying to build that bond. I know it's not Richardson, obviously, but Downs is going to be a fun guy to watch for the next few
He
years.
really is.
Yeah. Now, Zach, all these names are really hurting my head. What about Bijan?
Yeah, what's with that headache
It was
issue?
hurting his head too. Yeah. So
No slide
Bijan Robinson. I don't know the number. I want to say he played like 6 snaps total. He was put in. So he played 6 snaps and he was not given the ball, not even targeted. Was not targeted or given the ball until the very last play that he was in, where he got like a 3-yard rush. The reports that have been coming out have said that Bijan, came to Arthur Smith before the game. I don't know. We don't know how long before the game, but complaining of. I've seen reports of a headache. I've seen reports of like a non-football related illness, like pneumonia or something. The glaring issue is no one was alerted. No one was told that Bijan would not be playing. He was in my starting lineup. He was my first-round pick. I took him like number 8th, I think. Okay. So, not only did this screw fantasy owners, it also screwed the betting community, which, as we know, is huge right now. It's in every NFL commercial. Yep. And I'm not trying to accuse the NFL of anything. It's just some conspiracies I've seen. Bijan played just over the amount he would have needed to play in order for those bets, every single bet that involved him, to not be void. So no one who put any money on Bijan got their money back, despite the fact that he played 6 maybe snaps and got the ball once. So that is, again, I'm not trying to accuse anyone of anything, but it is a little suspicious to think about.
That is very suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, I do hope he feels better by next
here.
week.
Yep.
Injuries are always not fun to see, regardless of any shady stuff that's going on in the background. It's you hate to see it. So you hope he's better by next time.
Speaking of injuries, the man, the myth, the Levis is being started.
The man, the myth, the Levis.
Over Ryan Tannehill, who has an injury.
That's a good one.
He's dealing with a right ankle sprain.
Yep.
I think that's what
Also
it was.
known as Mayo Man.
The Mayo Man.
Put mayo in your coffee, I guess.
Mayonnaise,
Yeah.
maybe.
So that's exciting. Their second-round pick.
Second-round pick.
They took it the top of the second round.
Yeah.
Too, second overall.
He's being started next week against the Falcons. So we will have to see how
That'll be tough.
legendary
The
Levis
Falcons
goes.
have a very good secondary.
Yep.
So that's a tough rookie debut. But tune in for that game.
Yeah,
I know I
that'll
will
be a
be.
great game. But also speaking of shady dealings, the refs seem to have a field day on Sunday.
Oh, we could have dedicated
Not
the whole
in-
episode to the refs.
We really
Not in
could.
just the Colts game, but in what seemed to be every game across the board. We could talk about the Steelers-Rams game.
Oh,
we could talk about the
Oh.
Browns-Colts game. We could even talk about almost every game that was on there. We could even talk about Saints-Jags. We could talk about
Can I pick the one we talk about
Lions-Ravens.
first?
Yes.
Eagles, Dolphins.
Eagles-Dolphins.
Dolphins were penalized 10 times, and the Eagles were penalized 0.
That's right, 0.
Even though you can go through the game and find moments where the Eagles are blatantly committing penalties. I'm not trying to jump to conclusions or accuse. I'm not trying to say that NFL wants their Kelsey Bowl Part 2 or anything like that. But
It's looking pretty good right now.
It's tough to look past the fact that they were penalized 0 times.
Yeah.
When you can go through and find penalties in that game. And I understand, there were some calls that were offset. I understand it wasn't like the refs threw 0 flags. But it's just tough. It's really tough to watch these games when you see the refs, essentially have their backs turned to the game the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I found this interesting. I don't know names or anything, but this ref, like the head ref and his officiating crew, you know what I'm talking about. Yep. They were actually banned from the ACC championship game a few years ago. They got kicked out from reffing that game, or they didn't get kicked out. Do you know what?
I'm not too sure much on the
something like that. They were reffing the ACC championship game, and they got in trouble for like lying about flags or calling like purposely wrong flags or something. This is an officiating crew that has been in hot water before and is now banned from reffing the ACC championship game, and I would imagine just ACC in general.
Probably.
So I find it very interesting that they got a job working on an NFL primetime game, the Sunday night game. Mm-hmm. So that is just very interesting to me.
I'll grab the Rams one by its horns and just try to beat the Steelers. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll keep my thoughts to myself about the Pittsburgh Steelers. but yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, glasses on. Yeah, sure. All right, but 4th down and 1. Kenny Pickett, quarterback sneak. Wasn't really a tush push, as they say.
We could talk about the tush push
we could,
if we wanted.
We could, but they didn't even run that.
Yeah.
And Kenny Pickett ended up noticeably short, and they went on ahead and had a bad spot, which is like, all right, real time, you're like, all right, that, maybe make a bad spot. But there's just so much that goes into it where it's like, all right, you can go back on replay and see it is a terrible spot. And then they go on ahead and say it's a 1st down. It doesn't help that the Rams didn't have any timeouts to be able to challenge it, which I still think is a dumb
insane.
Rule. I think it's a dumb rule.
It's a very
to begin
dumb
with.
rule.
And it just, the timing of it was absolutely terrible because if that happened inside of 2 minutes, the booth would have automatically
reviewed it.
And it just was the worst possible time that could have happened. But my issue is the spot, because it clearly shows that Kenny Pickett was down before that. You can go, you've seen the refs before. They make a call that's not correct. They can quickly go back to the monitor and they can see everything and they can check it and they can change it immediately. And no team has to waste a challenge. Why not do that in that situation? Heat of the moment, you jacked up a call, go on ahead and change it immediately like you're allowed to do in the rules, and then let the game go. We didn't know if the Rams were going to come back and beat the Steelers, but at least there would have been a chance and there would have been fair opportunity that would have happened. Your refs, you messed up.
Yeah. It's always so disheartening and frankly sickening to see the refs decide the ending.
Yeah, and it's a human.
And
it's a human
on
factor.
this many games.
But I feel like this season more than ever, it's been happening so much.
Yeah, that's exactly. There's a human factor to it, but just it's the inconsistency. That's the worst part about it. You're inconsistently
one of the
bad with
biggest things that I've heard getting louder and louder and louder this season is why aren't the refs full-time? Refs are part-time employees of the NFL. Yep. They can very easily be full-time and look at and go back, and I know that they do this already to a degree. Go back at their previous games that they've reffed and look at those calls. Yep. And if you have full-time employees, you can fire those guys that are making bad calls, and you can hire new guys. Because I guarantee you, I know that not a lot of people want to be refs. Yeah. But there is enough people who want to be refs where people who make bad calls, I guarantee you can find a replacement for them. Yep. Guarantee. Yep. And if you're getting paid full-time by the NFL, who doesn't want to put that on their resume?
Yeah, there's not enough officials in the world, but the ones that are officials would probably want to do the NFL.
Exactly.
Because it's the highest level of competition
100%.
right there. So that's
refs need to be full-time. Yeah. Period. Yep. End of sentence.
Find a way. Find a way. But
In fact, I'm going to make that the title of this episode. Refs need to be full-time.
There you go.
like it.
There you go. Putting it out there. But, there's a couple of good games coming up this week in the National Football League. We touched on it very, very briefly. The Jaguars and Steelers play each other at 1 o'clock. That should be a good one. 5-2 versus 4-2. They have some history with that. Trevor Lawrence, Kenny Pickett, young quarterbacks going at it. The Browns and Seahawks play at 4:05. You got P.J. Walker officially is going to be be the starter for the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and then
he got his paycheck, and
he definitely did. He did, yeah. But
that's the problem with fully guaranteed contracts.
You got that right. Yeah. I
mean, why would he risk his health, even if he's at 99%? He knows he can sit out and still make the same amount of money. So why would he risk his health?
Why would you not sit out?
Yeah. Deshaun, we're not trying to defend him on the show.
My boy's milking the cow, right?
But yeah, I can't exactly blame him for not wanting to play.
Yeah, I mean, he's still getting that paycheck rolling through really, really nicely on the very positive. Yeah, and then the Seahawks Browns, it should be a really interesting matchup.
Yeah,
4-2. It's set aside. It's a single header game on Fox. The big one, Bengals Niners.
Oh my God,
big game!
I'm so excited for that game.
Big game.
I mean, Nance, Romo on the call. It's a big one. 4:25 national window.
Oh yeah.
Burrow today in his press conference said that he is 100% healthy and 100% back. The boys hopefully are back.
Yeah.
Woo! You've got a big time game. I'll talk about this a little more tomorrow on a radio show. But you got the Bengals trying to get back to full steam. The Niners are
also trying to get back to full steam.
Trying to get back to full steam as well. But they might have to do it without Brock Purdy because at this moment, he's not expected to play as he's in a concussion protocol. And that means that Sam Darnold, the guy that sees ghost, will get the starting nod on Sunday. The Bengals have had history with some backup quarterbacks, and it has not been good overall. So obviously something's going to be going, obviously clashing forces are going to be going against each other. But nonetheless, Bengals-Niners, 4:25.
The game to watch.
Yeah. Rematch, Super Bowl 23.
Right. And 16 as well.
A lot of
history involved.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's so far back.
Yeah, it was funny.
I definitely remember that.
When we lost, unfortunately, when we lost our most recent Super Bowl, stats were flying like, Bengals, they've only lost Super Bowls to California teams, which is pretty funny.
That is really
by
funny.
5, by 4, and by 3. So the next one's going to be by 2, I guess.
And then by 1, and then it's going to be a tie. And then we win.
And we win, yeah. Oh, man. But, yeah, there's the top games, coming up. It's going to be a pretty good week, I would say. Okay. Probably wild, too.
It'll be a wild game.
All right, so we have we have to predict our Thursday night score.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were going to talk a little bit about, since we are coming up on week 8, we're going to try and speculate some trades. So let's start with let's do Thursday night first.
Okay.
Which is Bucks Bills.
Yep.
So I'll start. I will say I do think it's going to be a defense heavy game. Bucks defense is obviously very good. Same with the Bills.
Yep.
The difference is the Bills offense is good and the Bucks is not. So I'm not predicting a super low scoring affair, but I'm also not predicting a shootout. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think I'm confident somewhere in like the 24 to 17 range.
Yeah,
a fairly mid level game.
Who are you saying's winning?
Oh, with Bills on top.
Bills.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually going to be really close to that, too. I think it's going to be 26-17
Okay.
Bills. I think they're going to be settling for a lot of field goals. I think their offense is going to get some things going. They have to get going because if they lose, they're 500. And they see the Bengals on Sunday night next week.
Yeah.
But I think the Bills will do enough to win this game. Their defense will be very good against who knows if it's Baker Mayfield. We don't know. But I think 26-17 will be my score, very close to Zach's.
Okay. I think if Baker plays, I'm taking the Buccaneers over the Bills, 27-20. If Baker doesn't play, I'm keeping the score, but I'm going to take the Bills.
All right.
And it would be Kyle Trask.
Yeah,
right?
Kyle Trask. I don't really have that much faith in Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
But I have faith in Baker. I think Baker's been playing very well this year. I know he's been going all over the place when it comes to his teams. He's looking a lot like Ryan Fitzmagic with the amount of teams that he's playing with.
Definitely is.
Yeah.
But I think if Baker plays, I don't think the Bills are looking very good this year. And I think the Buccaneers are looking better than the Bills, at least this year. I think the Bills are on a decline and the Buccaneers are on an incline. And I think the Buccaneers will take the Bills by 7, 27-20.
I'll tell you
if Baker
this,
plays.
Baker Mayfield, man, he's got enough of these jobs with different teams that he's got multiple W-2s this year. It's pretty wild, man. Like he's been,
Multiple W2s.
he's been with a lot of teams over
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
couple of years, but shout out to Baker though. He's been balling though.
Yeah. I think in the span of 2022, he played Browns, Panthers, Rams in 1 year.
Count, yeah.
Played started at least one game for all three of those teams.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Definitely is.
All right, so I believe our final topic of the night, trades. Yeah, I know. The NFL. It's not like I'm going to compare it to the NBA. We see the trade deadline of the NBA, and then tons of names are flying around. It's crazy in there. The NFL, we definitely see some trades, but I think it's a lot less common, and so we're not going to see as many. So to start off, my personal favorite that I've seen flying around, rumors-wise, I said this before the game, T. Higgins for Kyle Pitts, Bengals to Falcons, straight up, no picks, no anything else. It would pain me to lose Higgins. It would, genuinely. But I think, obviously, tight end is a position in need for us right now. I get Irv Smith and Joe Burrow. They've both been injured. They need some more time to gel. But we are lacking in our tight end production, and tight end is something that Joe Burrow relied pretty heavily on back in college. So I would like to see, that safety blanket there, someone who is there who can convert third downs for us, similar to how we used Hurst and Uzama in the past. And I know, Pitts would be a huge leap, but I like the idea of it being a stud. Falcons, they're lacking at wide receiver. Drake London's awesome. After that, they kind of fall off. And Pitts, they're just not utilizing him well.
They are.
We see weeks
really
where Jonnu
are.
Smith is getting more touches than him. And, I don't know what the problem is. Kyle Pitts, I understand, maybe he's still a little raw, but he is, a generational tight end prospect. He is one of the most athletic tight ends we've ever seen. And, I think maybe a change of scenery for him could be good. So Higgins for Pitts, that's my prediction.
I certainly hope you're wrong, but
Yeah.
we will see what happens.
Which is fair.
I'm actually looking at a guy in Pat Surtain II right now, who has been a
Interesting.
very, very good corner. The first couple of years he's been in the National Football League. He's, all-league, all-pro, whatever you want to call him. A couple of teams that I've seen his name get bounced around to, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Detroit Lions, a couple of teams like that. But one that would actually be really intriguing to see, especially with them losing one of their big corners in Week 3, if they somehow find a way with Jerry's money, the Dallas Cowboys. Just imagine if Pat
That would be
Surtain
interesting.
and Stephon Gilmore on the opposite side of each other. Stephon Gilmore got traded for this past offseason from the Indianapolis Colts. Maybe they move off of Stephon coming out of that, and Trayvon Diggs comes back in, and they're able to get Patrick Surtain. It's a wild shot in the dark. Dude,
and then maybe if Stephon Gilmore retires, could you imagine that cornerback duo between PS2 and Trayvon Diggs?
Young guys that are
Oh, my
balling
God.
from Alabama.
Yeah.
You gotta love
Yeah.
it. A Bama reunion right there. Put it out there for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have two good corners to cover the two good receivers from the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's true.
Why not go get an all-pro Pat Surtain?
That's true.
I unfortunately do not have any good trades that I haven't really seen much.
Yeah.
I'm very in the Colts world. I've seen Mo Cox's name thrown around a lot. But besides that, I haven't really seen much.
Yeah.
If Mo Cox does leave, I understand why. He's not getting very many touches recently. Kyle Granson's kind of gotten a lot more of his touches, a lot more touches than Mo Cox has in the past few years. And he's now third on the depth chart. Kyle Granson was hurt last, I don't know, I can't remember what he got hurt for last game, and Mo Cox was not the next man up.
That's crazy.
I wouldn't mind the Bengals trying to get Mo
Yeah,
Cox for
I wouldn't hate that.
for a really
So-
late swap because, I mean, we've seen that Joe Burrow can really get any type. Obviously, Irv Smith's not producing right now. Maybe Mo Cox, we've seen him get in the end zone a couple times here and there.
And he's a good player. It's just he's not in good. He's apparently not good in the good graces of the Indianapolis
He's just not
coaching staff.
involved. Yeah.
Preseason, we had 5 or 6 tight ends in our squad, in our signed
like
in the,
3
in
wide
the practice
receivers.
squad.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And that number has now since dwindled a little bit.
Yeah.
But still, it's very clear that Indianapolis is looking for somebody to replace Mo Alley Cox. So I would not be surprised if he gets traded out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to the Broncos, they've been shopping Jerry Jeudy a little bit because apparently he has gone full diva mode in that locker room. And I mean, the Broncos, they have said, I'm paraphrasing, it's not necessarily a fire sale, but they are taking calls for anyone. And Jerry Jeudy is a name that I'm hearing a lot. And then the destination I see most likely, the Panthers have been saying they're looking for a wide receiver 1 to sort of help out their first-round pick, or their first overall pick, Bryce Young. It's silly to think about. They had a pretty good wide receiver 1 in DJ Moore. Yeah. But no, they're looking for a wide receiver 1. Jerry Jeudy, he's got some personality issues, but I do think he has good talent. Younger guy, and I could see a change of scenery being good for him too.
Yeah. And
Jeudy to the Panthers, I like.
One more guy, and this one I hope it does not happen. I've
Okay.
heard a lot of rumblings out of the Tennessee Titans. They obviously traded Kevin Byard, their all-pro safety, to the Philadelphia Eagles, so the rich get richer, as they say.
Of
Of course.
I
I don't know why they're trading with the Eagles anymore.
I have
because,
no idea. That's
their last
It
trade
didn't
did
work
not
last
work
time,
out.
yeah.
did not work out at all. I mean, Howie Roseman is, a mafia man. So
Oh, my
there
God,
you go. The Baltimore Ravens are very interested in Derrick Henry. And
I'm okay with
to
that.
see-
Would they ever throw the ball again? That's the real
That's
question.
to see
Here's the only
that
thing.
man go out in a purple jersey like that. Terrifying.
I don't know. Like, I get that you guys are upset. I'd be okay with it.
Well,
the Titans are in
why?
the Colts division.
Oh, because it's not a Bengals
No, I
fan, 'cause
understand.
it's
I
not a
understand.
I'm okay with it.
I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
okay.
I
Yeah,
believe
never
that. Yeah.
But I'm okay with not seeing Derrick Henry anymore.
Hey,
But so I'm okay with it. I understand why you guys are upset. The Ravens should not be loaded like that, especially with Lamar Jackson being as versatile as a quarterback as he is.
Yeah,
They would be a dangerous
Also, they
team.
already have Justice Hill and Gus Edwards. Like, why do they need Derrick Henry?
depth. I guess they're gonna split. I don't know why, but
But I mean, Justice Hill and Gus Edwards had great games last week.
Again, I guess
but
the
Derrick
rich-
Henry.
yeah,
True.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're running
Derrick
back.
Henry with
Depth is bad.
what's the dude's name? Linderbaum opening
Yeah.
the holes
Yeah.
for him.
Man,
That would look good.
it definitely.
So
definitely
yeah,
looked good.
I agree. I would hate to see that.
Yep. Again, the rich get richer. So there you go.
One last person before we wrap this thing up.
Oh.
There was one player who has already been traded, and Chase Claypool traded away from the Browns to the Dolphins. The Browns have since gotten 2 wins.
Not the Browns, the Steelers.
The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears have since gotten
Or
2
Bears.
wins.
Sorry.
And the Dolphins have now lost. So, Chase Claypool hasn't won a game in over a year.
Not only that, not only has he not won a game in over a year, Chase Claypool, all time, his entire career, has won twice. That's it. He has been on a winning side of a game twice in his entire career.
Why did the Dolphins want him?
I don't know. I don't understand. He
I have
is
no comment.
River Kraft needs to get healthy because this is bad. What is
real
he
bad.
doing on the Dolphins?
And should not be
Yeah.
in any team's locker room.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for watching
I believe that's all we
Bearcast
have for
Blitz.
today.
I believe that's all we have. Our crew is cheering.
They are very
Oh, we haven't been
excited
here
to be
that
ending right
long.
now. Ah, come on.
But
The moon's not even out yet.
Hour
Jeez.
max.
yeah.
Get out of here.
But thank you for watching. If you watched through the whole thing, we greatly appreciate it. We're glad that you were able to sit through it. And we hope to see you next time. I know that it hasn't been the case recently, but we are hoping to get back on schedule and have a video out for you next week.
Yes.
Thank you to Bearcast Media. Before I forget, thank you
Yes.
to Bearcast Media.
Thank you to Bearcast GM Zac Worth as well.
And thank you to Bearcast BTV Director Hayden Ducker as well.
I'm just here. So.
And this is
And then
Chase.
there's Chase.
Yep. If you guys are unaware because it's been so long, this is Zac Worth. My
Yes.
name is Hayden, and this is Chase.
Yes. We'll do introductions like every 3 episodes or so.
Yeah,
Just so you guys
assuming that we
remember.
remember.
Yes.
Keep it interesting.
Yeah.
But thank you for watching,
Yes.
and we will
see you next
all
time.
See you guys.
next week, hopefully. Bye.